Imagine this. It's a moonless night in Boston Harbor, 1773. A band of men, disguised as Mohawk warriors, quietly board three massive British ships. They're not pirates after gold, they're after tea. And what they do next will ignite a revolution and change the course of history forever. This is the story of the Boston Tea Party, explained in under 5 minutes. To understand why American colonists would dump 342 chests of perfectly good tea into the sea, we need to rewind a bit. The year is 1767, and Britain is in debt from the French and Indian War. Their solution? Tax the American colonies. The Townshend Acts imposed duties on imported goods like glass, paper, and, you guessed it, tea. The colonists were furious. Their cry was no taxation without representation. They argued that since they had no elected representatives in the British Parliament, Parliament had no right to tax them. In response, the colonists organized boycotts. They simply refused to buy British goods, especially tea. This hit British merchants hard, particularly the powerful East India Company, which was sitting on a mountain of unsold tea. So, in 1773, the British Parliament passed the Tea Act. This wasn't a new tax. Instead, it gave the East India Company a monopoly, allowing them to sell their tea directly to the colonies at a much lower price, even with the tax. Parliament thought this was a brilliant move. The colonists would get cheap tea, the company would be saved, and the tax would be collected, proving Parliament's right to rule. But the colonists saw it as a trap. They weren't just fighting for cheap goods, they were fighting for a principle. Accepting this cheaper tea meant accepting Parliament's right to tax them, and they were not having it. When 3 ships loaded with East India Company Titha, Dartmouth, the Eleanor, and the Beaver sailed into Boston Harbor, the tension was palpable. The colonists, led by a group known as the Sons of Liberty, demanded the ships be sent back to England without unloading their cargo. The royal governor, Thomas Hutchinson, refused. This stalemate led to the night of December 16, 1773. After a massive town meeting, hundreds of men, some disguised as Native Americans to protect their identities, marched to Griffin's Wharf. Over the next 3 hours, they systematically hoisted every single chest of tea onto the decks, broke them open, and dumped the contents into the chilly Boston Harbor. It was a bold, organized act of defiance. The British response was swift and harsh. They passed the intolerable acts, closing Boston Harbor until the tea was paid for and stripping Massachusetts of its self-governance. But instead of crushing the rebellion, these punitive measures united the colonies. They saw Boston's punishment as a threat to them all. Less than 2 years later, the first shots of the American Revolution were fired at Lexington and Concord. The Boston Tea Party wasn't just about tea. It was a powerful statement that Americans would not stand for tyranny, setting the stage for the birth of a new nation.